Our political panel today, Jeannie Sheehan Zaino, our Democratic analyst and senior democracy fellow with the Center for the Study of the Presidency and Congress, joined today by Republican strategist Maura Gillespie, Blue Stack Strategies. Great to see you both and welcome. Jeannie, what does this mean for Democrats? Are people going a little far here? We're hearing this was the first good day for Democrats since the election of Donald Trump, and that may not be saying a lot, to be perfectly honest, as we look back over the past couple of months here. But these couple of statewide races, Wisconsin Supreme Court and the couple of seats that we saw actually stay Republican in Florida, mean what for Democrats?
Yeah, there is always a tendency to overread. But, Joe, we have to give Democrats something. They've had a crappy few months, so they're out celebrating. And, of course, Cory Booker last night, over 24 hours, helped buoy their spirits. So, yeah, this was a big win in Wisconsin. It was also a necessary win. If Democrats had lost Wisconsin, that would have been catastrophic for them. Likewise, and I think Maura would agree, had Republicans lost those Florida seats, that would have been catastrophic for the GOP. So, in some ways, this sort of reinforced the status quo. But there was something about the Florida wins. They were able to get those margins a little bit smaller than they were in 24, or a lot smaller. And they also carried Escambia County, and that was a big upset for the GOP. So there were some bright spots there for Democrats. But of course, they have to be careful about overreading, because we've been down this road before.
Well, and Maura, to Jeannie's points on the margins in Florida, I see there's kind of two ways of looking at it. One being that in both districts, Republicans won by double digits. The other being that those double-digit margins were half or less of what Republicans, including Donald Trump, were able to secure in those very same districts in November. Which side do you take on that?
Well, I think you could take the fact that people just didn't go out for this vote. I mean, it's 3 months after the Republican government took over, and we don't always see a large turnout when it comes to these off elections. And so I think with the economy not being great, people just didn't feel compelled to show up. It doesn't mean they went out and voted for the Democrat. It just means they didn't show up as strongly as they have in the past for elections, like for Donald Trump or for Mike Waltz. Or, you know, it was held by Cliff Stearns for years, and he would have somewhere up to 70+% of the vote back when he was the member. So this is a very stronghold Republican district. That wasn't a surprise. I agree with Jeannie's point about Democrats looking for victory somewhere, you know, looking to take some bright spots here because they've had pretty bad days leading up until now. So they're looking at this as, okay, we have something to grasp onto and hopefully can use this towards, the elections in November with Virginia and New Jersey.
The money trail is pretty impressive, though, when you look at the way Democrats used money in all three races, Jeannie, outraising the Republican 3-1 in Florida's first district, outraising the Republican 10-1 in Florida's sixth, and Wisconsin nearly 2-1, making it the most expensive judicial battle in U.S. history. How much of all of this was just about money?
Yeah, and what's insane about that is that you see there the people who raised the most money also lost. And so it says what we know about American politics. And Donald Trump has said this over and over. Money is important, but it doesn't guarantee you a victory, as I'm sure Elon Musk would attest to today. And likewise, the Democrats who raised big money in Florida. And of course, we didn't expect them to win. But one thing I think Democrats have to be very cautious about, and you just mentioned before the setup the Politico piece, Democrats have to be cautious about running against Elon Musk, because as Politico notes, Donald Trump could exit him off stage. And then what do Democrats run against in the midterm election? They have to keep their eye on the person in charge. This is Donald Trump's government. This is the GOP's government. It is not Elon Musk's. He's working at the behest of the president. And so Democrats have to focus like a laser beam on Donald Trump. And this announcement today at 4 o'clock is a big part of what they need to focus on, the economy.
Well, what about the way Republicans should be viewing Elon Musk now, Maura? Because we have seen evidence in the last several months of Republicans deciding to vote a different way, potentially change their behavior due to the threat of primary challenges being funded by Elon Musk. Is Wisconsin yesterday a lesson that even if Elon Musk throws his money at something, it's not necessarily something that you actually have to worry about? Or does his massive financial war chest, the largest, of course, of anyone in terms of wealth in the world, still mean you have to keep him on side?
I do think you're seeing that, especially in the Senate. They have a little more wiggle room, right? They have 6-year terms. And we saw, Rand Paul is standing with Tim Kaine on this, bill against tariffs for Canada. A couple others have joined them, and they're not as threatened by Elon Musk's threat, his I'm going to be involved in all the primaries. With the Doge thing and him leaving the White House, it was set when Doge was established and when it was announced that back when it was he and Vivek Ramaswamy, it was going to be dissolved on July 4th, 2026, America's 250th birthday. So it was already set, kind of in stone that this would be dissolved by then. And that's ahead of the midterm elections. And so to Jeannie's point, the Democrats do need a new strategy. It can't be just targeting or just standing anti-Trump or anti-Elon. And I think what Republicans will do is continue to focus on the people. And those are who they're going to be hearing from when these tariffs come into place, because they're going to have to see whether their constituents are willing to play the long game and trust in Donald Trump's plan, because the short-term pains, especially on farmers and especially on those who are already hurting to afford groceries, how long can they hold on for, and how long can those members keep their seats is to be said.
It's kind of interesting, Jeannie and Maura. We really haven't seen Elon Musk since Wisconsin, have we? Since he donned the cheese head and gave out the $1 million checks. Would it be smart, Maura, for Donald Trump to not have Elon Musk standing next to him in the Rose Garden today?
It would be smart for him for Elon to maybe take a step back and to focus on the task at hand, which was supposed to be giving out guidance and assessing where our fraud, waste, and abuse is. I think that the excessive role he has played thus far isn't necessarily a net benefit to Republicans, and I'm sure the president and the White House have been hearing as much. So, again, Donald Trump talks about how Elon has this big job and he's doing this out of his own goodwill. Well, then, it does cause you to wonder, should he go back to that big job that he has and let those who are elected do the job of the people who elected them to do, ask them to do. So that's where I think his focus needs to be, is on what the people who voted for him asked him to do in terms of the economy and safety and security.